This is all new. This is a whole new setup. All right. Hey, we're live. First one of the day. The other two, my bad. I had to pre-record them. Facebook was doing an update, but hey, we're live now with another amazing wrestler and wrestling mind and coach in our country and in the Southeast. So he's a three-time NCAA qualifier at UTC. He was ranked fifth as a senior, over 100 wins, two-time Georgia State champ. In high school, went 150 and 15 at Gordon Central. His Grindhouse Wrestling Club has produced over 61 individual state champions, amongst a lot of other accolades. And he's with us today, Coach Matt Pitts.
What's up?
What's up, man? Hey, thanks so much for coming on. There's a lot more to say about you, but then we'd be here for a while because I saw
you ain't gotta talk about me.
It was pretty cool. Yeah, I went to your site. A lot of cool stuff there. Anybody wants to check it out, go to Grindhouse Wrestling and take a look.
I try to update it about every year, with what we got, but I don't keep on top of it as much as I do. I should. My parents stay on me about it, So.
They've got time to look at it, right?
That's
right. So, man, first of all, some crazy times, huh?
Yeah, it's different, improvising, but we're wrestlers. We find a way to get it done. So
yeah, now your Grindhouse club, you have one in Tennessee. You also have one in Georgia. So two different states, governed by two different people, two different laws. What has that been like?
Well, Tennessee's more last year was my first full year back in Tennessee. I lived in Tennessee for about 10 years, 11 years. I moved back to Georgia, which, I technically live 15 minutes from the border. So I'm right there at it. But yeah, when we started the club, it was in Georgia 9 years ago, and it was in Calhoun. And then I moved it to Dalton because that's where I live. It's a little north of there. And we've been there for 8 years, and then moved up to another location at the McCallie School in Chattanooga. So last year we operated out of two places. I've got, one guy that helps me, Steve Hamilton. He actually coached me in college for a year or two. He's a 4-time All-American at Iowa State. So he's an awesome resource to have up here, and, a good mentor to go to.
Yeah. And your alma mater is doing big things, man, recruiting strong.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Chuck Morris says, we crush Grindhouse all day.
Dude, don't even bring it. Ask him what happened at middle school duels last year.
You hear him, Chuck.
Charlie was like my intro to youth wrestling in Georgia. All the clubs were kind of coming up, but Morse Fitness is, he does a great job with those guys, and he always has them ready and has a million of them at the state tournament. And, he's always fun to cut up with at the tournaments and just make light. He's one of the reasons that makes youth wrestling so much fun, is being able to cut up with that guy and go back and forth with. We have a good time.
Yeah, he said, that's my brother. Well, obviously whatever you guys are doing in Georgia and obviously in Tennessee where you are, but
Georgia's hit another level probably in the last 10, 15 years. Just, depth wise, I think we've always had good wrestlers, but maybe not the depth that you see or starting to see out of from about sophomores up. But it's because of guys that, my generation that have came back, and, instead of football coaches as wrestling coaches, now you have wrestlers as wrestling coaches. And, now that Charlie, Pete Yates is back, he does his club up in Atlanta. He's a 2-time All-American at Virginia Tech. Terry Allison's there. Cliff's got the compound. Arturo Holmes, he's like the godfather of Georgia club wrestling. So you got all these.
I had a kid on yesterday that wrestles out of Level Up.
Level Up, yep. Panone's got Level Up.
I spoke to Terry Styles.
Oh yeah, Terry Allison.
Yeah.
Yep, Terry's a good guy.
But whatever you guys are doing in Georgia, man, whatever you're feeding those boys, they look like they're starting to bring it. and doing big things. And it's good for the Southeast because it's going to be fun to watch at the Grappler this year. It's real
It
deep.
is. There's a lot of heavy hitters. I've seen a lot of those guys wrestle since they were little puppies. And it's fun to watch them
Yeah, I wonder,
grow and become passionate about it. Like the way a lot of them are. So yeah, there's going to be a lot of good matchups. There's going to be a lot of good Georgia guys in the results. I hope. Same with Super 32. But
yeah, I don't know if Chuck, are you going to Grindhouse? If you're still listening, I mean not Grindhouse, the Grappler. Maybe I'll
I'm
get
sure
to
he
meet in
is.
person. But man, tell us about the Grindhouse, man. You're producing. You've been open now 11 years. You
No, 9. This is our 9th. We started in 11.
started 11, 9 years,
Yep.
and man, it's just kind of a machine that just keeps producing these great athletes. What do you guys do that
I mean,
that you think is what do you put
we're
in the
just
water?
we're passionate about it, put a lot of time into it. When we first started it, I was running it 5 days, 6 days a week. I've kind of cut back on that just because out of season, just the numbers up where I'm at, the wrestling population in Georgia is like around Atlanta, and I'm about an hour and 15 minutes north of there. So I'll get kids from Chattanooga area, that Northwest Georgia area. But my numbers aren't as big. So I've kind of cut back on the days, but we just start them at a young age and try to show them the right things to do and put them in good situations and get parents to buy into it. But they also go out and our guys travel and wrestle with other clubs, like wrestle with Charlie. I've got guys that wrestle with Charlie sometimes. And it makes it easier on me when you got guys like that. So you can kind of, these days a week, go over there and train with them. But yeah, just have kind of grown from a little bitty club to where we're not really that big, but we've got, a good 20 to 30 guys in there every night. And we'll start our youth season in November. It's like right now I've got a lot of high school, middle school guys. And then the youth season, kind of November to March, May, February, however long they want to go. We do that, and then summer camps. But, I shifted 3 years ago and I started coaching college at Reinhardt for 3 years, NAI team. And so I kind of took a step back a little bit from Grindhouse. I kept it open, but I just kind of left it as a training center, and I had some guys helping me out. But last year was my first kind of full year back on the youth scene. So, we've got a group that's in Tennessee now, and we got a group that's in Georgia. And luckily we're close enough to where they can go to both places if they want to. So
Yeah, what in Georgia? Where are you? Up by Blue Ridge?
it's in Dalton. It's right off 75. So it's like we're the carpet capital of the world up here. But it's like maybe 15, 20 minutes south of the Tennessee border.
Yeah,
And
because
then,
we've stayed up in Blue Ridge before up there, and
yeah, Blue Ridge is a little bit to the east of us.
yeah,
But
because I remember I came down the mountain and I made a left and I counted to 10 and I was in Tennessee or something, like
yeah, you were probably up in that tri-state where it's kind of like where Georgia, Tennessee, North Carolina all come together. That's Chattanooga is kind of east of there, It's beautiful up there. We got a lot of like Gilmer County is a really good program up there. I've got a kid that I coached it. He's actually a senior at Reinhardt, but he just started a club, mountain wrestling, Colby Milner, up that way. So a lot of good wrestling. Lumpkin County's tough. But notoriously Gilmer's a pretty tough wrestling area up in
wow.
Blue.
So Bud Hennenball, that was fun to
Yeah.
watch when he wrestled at UTC. What a hammer!
Bud, you watch Bud wrestle?
No, Bud said watching you wrestle.
Oh, I thought you said you watched Bud
No,
wrestle. You just like, whoa.
Bud Hennenball said Matt was fun to watch when he wrestled at UTC.
Yeah.
So man, so it's good. So it sounds like you got a good core of kids. You start them in the little. Now you've coached at all levels. So you've coached from the youth level. Two of my favorite on here. You've coached at the youth level, the high school level, the college level. I mean, all the way through to clubs, right? And so,
Hmm.
as you start these kids, when you start them at whatever 5, 6, 7 years old, when do these levels change? Like, I'm sure coaching a 5-year-old or coaching an 8-year-old is not the same as coaching a 12 or 15-year-old is not the same as coaching an 18-year-old, right?
Right. No, I'm up. Yeah, when I got back into, or when I first started coaching youth, my philosophies were kind of like an upper level guy. So that all kind of changed because they're just a completely different animal. The little guys. I don't know. They make jumps, probably like elementary to middle. They kind of make a jump. I think maybe mentally. I don't know, just because school wise, you get, I don't know. But from middle school, that's kind of a new transition to high school. Middle school is about when they start getting ready for the high school stuff, I feel like. So, I like them to get a little bit more serious once
Right.
they get to that age. If they pick something, pick a couple sports, or I'm cool with whatever if they want to play multiple. But that's when I see the ones that are serious about it really start gravitating towards it. They start developing their own passion for it. It isn't just like mom and dad taking them to practice because they got to go to practice. Um,
Yeah.
you know,
And at that point, you keep everything kind of like I was talking to Boskin, and
hmm
he said I start everything with just your basic wrestling moves. Just that
yeah,
core basic wrestling, and then as they get older and start to develop, I might start to add some other stuff to their kind of
yeah, for
arsenal.
sure. I've got a set of things, obviously, like most coaches, that I like them to do or try to do at a young age to make them, have some success, and that'll translate. The stuff we do is probably just kind of like what Boston was talking. It's like basics, and it's basics all the way up, but they all kind of have their own gifts that they've been given. So you got to kind of pick them out, and this is kind of where you want to wrestle. And I kind of tell the younger kids and even the older kids that are starting, it's like there's certain truths in wrestling. Like there's just certain truths that are they're right. There's a right way and there's a wrong way, and it's like you got to know those truths and the right way to do it before you can start breaking the rules. So there's like you'll see a high school guy that he knows where he needs to be, but he might be more comfortable than his teammate in a certain position, so he can go there. But it's just as they're getting older, they got to be honest with themselves, like where they're good at, where they're not, and so I like that aspect of it as they get older, because then I feel like they can really add to what they can do, when they've got a good foundation. So
Yeah, what's your transition like? What has your transition been like back to that high school youth level? You were at Reinhardt and coaching college and coming
yeah,
down now instead of recruiting them to come to your school and then building them for their future. Now you're kind of back to making sure they're preparing themselves the right way to get to college, right?
right, and that's I enjoy college guys a lot because it's you can really just hone in, and they're all about it, and so that's the part I kind of miss. But the high school guys are too if you train them right when they're younger. But I mean, coaching's coaching, I feel like, and I like the process of starting them young and then getting to work with them all the way up through the like really the guys that I've got right now that started with me when they were babies when I first started Grindhouse. I've got my first, last year or the year before is my first set of seniors that are finally starting to go into college. So, like Tyler Hunt is at the Naval Academy. Um, there's I've had some other guys going like NAIA route that started with me. So, you know, um, so that's been cool to get to work with them from the front end and then kind of still be working with them on this end as they're graduating. Macaulay's a private school, so we're still kind of the little guys at least trying to recruit them in there. And, uh, they have a really good, pretty strong wrestling tradition. Chattanooga's got a pretty strong like school, just high schools. There's a lot of former wrestlers and went to UTC that are training guys that are, at the schools around the area. So
I was
very,
going to ask you because we've seen Georgia grow to where it is, and you've been a part of that. Uh,
yeah,
but when you talk to like some Tennessee guys, they're like, it's not really here yet, and we have to travel a lot to get some competition.
Yeah.
It's Chattanooga like the center point, and now it's starting to grow and splinter throughout the state.
All the like Chattanooga, Nashville's got good teams, or Nashville's got a little hotbed area. They've got clubs. Memphis is a strong club like around that area. Uh, there's little hubs and pockets, but there's not just like the numbers, I guess, in Tennessee. There's not as many numbers as in Georgia of guys that actually are wrestling. So, you do have to travel. I mean, you got to travel in Georgia, but really in the youth scene, you can hang out around Atlanta now with all the clubs that there are, and I can take the guys down from Chattanooga to Atlanta, especially during freestyle season, and catch quality matches. So you don't have to go too far to wrestle. But I mean, obviously you got the guys that are going to Grappler and Super 32.
Yeah, no, and I see Omi at Life puts on a bunch of youth stuff during the off season. So yeah, that whole area, I saw Chuck Morris had stuff, and man, it was really going. So yeah, so I guess building it. So you built it in Georgia a little bit. You were help of that process with the Georgia wrestling, and now you're over there in Tennessee trying to kind of make it happen.
Yeah, I don't like, but there's a lot of good people involved. Like there's a lot of wrestlers in Tennessee. I think there's just like more numbers in Georgia. There's more clubs. There's more just kids that are doing it. USA Wrestling in Georgia is really organized. They kind of got on the ball with that several years back and have been able to grow it and like make it easier. The tournaments ran a lot smoother than, like when I was a kid and you'd show up and sign up that morning and you'd be there all day to wrestle 2 matches. I think that's helped a lot of the process of like keeping people involved. And Tennessee does that too. And they have a really good AAU program that's ran out of Tennessee, a really strong one. They host AAU national duels in Kingsport about every year. And they do some like AAU does a lot of good. It's a good organization, but they're different organizations. And folk style in Georgia's USA, folk style in Tennessee's AAU. So we do both.
Yeah, maybe one day they'll all be one.
Maybe. Not as long as well, no, I'm not saying anything, but just
nah. I have heard things off the air.
Yeah.
So what was it like wrestling for Terry Brands?
It wasn't something like I signed up for initially, but no, it was great. During it might not have been the most exciting time, but you knew you were getting better the whole time. He's a wrestler's coach. He's on the surface, obviously you see him and you're, it's like he's got that Terry Brands aura around him, and even before the video, it was like, I remember our coach left. And so I was there my freshman year. I had an interim, Frankie James. He's at Campbellsville now. And he was like a really good transition. He wrestled at Oklahoma and Carson Newman, and he did a really good job. We actually won conference that year as a bunch of just ragtag misfits, and had a fun year. And then Terry came in the next year, and it was like culture shock. It was from just, he just doesn't really have a governor. So it's like full go, and you never knew what you were doing day to day. So, it was cool though, after it was all over, and it was cool during it too. I learned wrestling wise, I feel like I went up a lot higher level getting to be around him. Cause I love the technique of it. I've always, something that's always drawn me to wrestling. It's just the technique of it. And he just kind of put it over the top. So I got to have him. He was there until my senior year, and then he left the year we graduated. We had a good team. We ended up with a couple All-Americans that year. And I think there's like 5 guys that are coaching Division I now that were on that team in various capacities. So he had and I know he had a great influence on all those guys, and we we still get together like every couple of years. We'll have a reunion, and he always comes back. We'll either meet in Nashville or like we went to St. Augustine one year, and we get all the guys together, and it's pretty fun.
Yeah, and for him to show up too, that's cool, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think when I started coaching, I remember doing some stuff. We would do some stuff sometimes, and you just be like, man, nobody would even believe like what we're doing right now. It's like I don't even, when I have a friend that wrestled with us that, he's like, I don't even tell brand stories because somebody's always got a story about their coach that's really, I had a tough coach too. But you're just like, yeah, you did have it, I'm sure, but you don't even want to try to explain it because he's just kind of mental a little bit. But, you would do stuff, and then the brands thing came out, and heck, I can remember even my Reinhardt guys, when we first started coaching college, they were like, you really know Terry Brands? I was like, I wrestled for him for like 3 years, yeah, I know him. And they're like, he's like texting me or something, and they're like, what? Wow, you really do. It just kind of never really struck them, until that show, the Terry Brands thing came out, and then everybody's like, whoa.
Yeah,
He's crazy.
That
Yeah.
is one thing that I've learned about having the show. I didn't come from the wrestling world, right? So um, I started talking to people, and I just started sharing people's stories. Well, I mean, I just gave them a platform to share, right? I just said, hey, here we go, right? But the people that say yes and come on, and then you talk to them and you're like, that's one of the greatest in the world. Like,
Yeah.
that dude was chill. Like, he was great to talk to her. That lady's on the world team. Man, she was dope, man. I was just shooting the shit with her. Like, you never.
No, you would never know. I remember being out places with him with guys and just be like, nobody even knows who this guy is. And he's like, I've talked to wrestlers from other countries and they all know who he is, but just like normal everyday people don't. And he is just a normal dude. He's a little bit more intense than most people, and he's passionate, but that's what you want to be around if you're training at a high level, is somebody that, he thought we were going to win 10 matches every time we wrestled. That was just his mindset. So I like that. And then, you could call him at 3:00 in the morning and tell him you had a cramp. He'd drive over to your house and, rub your cramp out for you. Those are the kind of stuff I don't think people know about him, that, he's all about his guys. Whenever he's in season or training, he's all about his guys. So that's something you could take. That's something I took away as a coach,
Who else did I talked to someone else, and you probably know who it is that wrestled for him.
You talked to Boskin. I know you talked to Boskin. I saw that.
Maybe it was Boskin that said that. He said that you could, if you wanted to get a roll in at 3 a.m. and you called that guy, he'd meet you on the mat. He'd be ready to go.
Yeah, he would. He asked a lot of you. I remember one time we worked out, I think like 3 times before noon one day. It's like we woke up before 4 and got 3 workouts in. But he would be right there with you. He was all hands on with everything. So that was pretty cool.
Well, so
I wasn't mad when it was over though. It was
when you see the programs he's built since then, you're just like, yeah.
I mean, you at least know like what they're doing. You have an idea about what they're doing. You respect it. You respect those guys a lot. Like Dan Dennis was in Chattanooga for a while before he took the RTC job. So it was cool to have him down here. And, you hear a lot of the same stories.
Have you ever found yourself you know how, well, you became a father, right? You got 2 young ones. And I tell people, like, sometimes your parent, you're like, damn, I used to hate my grandma said that. Why am I saying that? Like, you ever find yourself coaching and you're like, shit, I hated when Terry did that to me, but now I'm doing it to these kids. Like, do you ever find yourself coaching through what you learned from him?
Definitely. And even if I don't mean to, maybe, I'm kind of a perfectionist with the technique too. So it's like, he was always just like, one more, let's do one more. Let's do one more. And it's like, before you knew it, you were in there for like another hour doing one more, So I found myself doing that a lot. sometimes. So, but I'm definitely not as fanatical. Well, maybe fanatical. I'm just not as high strung, maybe.
No, I mean, you seem like a mellow dude, laid back dude,
Yep.
but most people I've met in wrestling that I talk to that sound like you, I end up going and watching them at a wrestling match, and I'm like, who the hell is that guy? Like all of a sudden they're go get it.
Yeah.
Like the animal comes out, the coach comes out.
Yeah.
One of Daniel's coaches, I'm like, man, I never heard you talk before until I saw you on the wrestling mat. And the passion comes out, right? And
Yeah, it's just like a different person. Obviously, you can do what you want. That's one thing I always liked about wrestling. It's just you, and you didn't have to rely on anybody. And if you wanted to beat somebody up, you could beat them up as long as you wanted to, within the rules. And
yeah.
it was just, I was always really competitive as a kid, whether it was whatever, I'd play a kickball game and lose and cry about it. I was just really kind of a big baby growing up. So wrestling helped all that. Like wrestling helped me out a lot. I was lucky. I didn't grow up like in a wrestling hotbed. There's wrestling around, but my dad was a coach. So he introduced me to it. Well, we didn't have club wrestling when I was a kid until like middle school. So I had to go down to Atlanta and train and,
all that good stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, obviously you chose a great school. I've heard amazing things about UTC. I've seen some athletes that I know from last year that are over there now, and obviously building a relationship with Bud Henenbaugh.
Yeah, but great.
Through my show, he's loves it. He's offered to invite me up to the scuffle, so I'm excited about that.
They do. You need to come to that. Man, I wish they had that when I was wrestling. It's a really cool event, and they've moved it into arena to the Roundhouse. So it's, and Chattanooga's a wrestling knowledgeable town. Like there's a lot of wrestlers around the area, so they all come out and bring their kids, and it's fun. Rochelle does a good job now that he's taken it over, and yeah, I love the scuffle. It's a good event.
I mean, the whole Southeast. I mean, I talked to all these different coaches at all these different colleges, and every time I talk to a new one, I'm like, "You're where? Why would a kid not want to live there? Like that sounds cool to me. Like like all these little from Chattanooga to Charleston to Boone to anywhere in the Carolinas to the Georgia coast, right? You're like at the city of Atlanta. You're like, man, these places are awesome.
They really are. Yeah, if you like it, Chattanooga's a real outdoorsy kind of place, but if you're into that, they've got about anything you could want to do.
SoCon has really grown, huh?
It has, with the addition of Campbell and some of those other schools, especially when we lost, who was it they lost? Southern Illinois. Was it Edwardsville? They lost them a couple of years ago, but they added like Presbyterian. They've added Gardner Webb since I, wrestled there. And then Campbell.
It seems, I mean, I was, we didn't have the tournament, but I mean, there was 5, 7, 10 guys from each school that was qualified to go. I mean, they were bringing it,
Yeah.
And,
some of the weights were deep this year, and that's I guess just with the number of teams, sometimes you don't get as many draws. But the ACC, man, they've really turned it on since 05, 06. They used to kind of get the same numbers into the tournament that we did, and now they've got like triple that.
And they had a kid win it 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Out of Virginia Tech. Yeah, they're doing. I was just gonna say, ACC, man, doing some big things too, man. It's awesome.
You're getting those kids that are pretty tough that are wanting to stay around now, and they aren't leaving, or maybe they're pulling some kids down from PA. I wish if the SEC would have had, I would have went to Georgia in a heartbeat if SEC still had wrestling.
Yeah, I'd love to see a Division I school happen here in Florida. I mean, I think there's with some of there's some really good programs that have been built up here, and look where they're at now. They're at Iowa, they're at Penn State, they're at Ohio State, they're at Virginia Tech, Virginia. These Florida kids. I mean, imagine having them.
Florida's always had like a step on Georgia, I feel like, until maybe just like even here recently, as far as the depth. Florida's always put guys in the Fargo finals and big schools, big programs from all over the state. There's been really good wrestlers come out of Florida over the
Yeah,
years.
I don't think there'd be an issue putting a pretty good squad together.
No, UF started their program back up. Or Florida State, they're in the ACC, right?
Yeah, Miami. Imagine
Miami.
I was talking to Coach Frere,
Yeah,
and he said I love Virginia Tech, but I would love to be part of a Miami FSU wrestling rivalry.
yeah. Get him and Hazelwinkle back in Florida.
That would be unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
Oh man, well this has been fun.
Javier Maldonado, he'd come back, I'm sure.
Oh, they
Yeah.
all would. It'd
Yeah,
be cool. Man, it's been fun, man. I'm glad that we got to do this.
definitely.
I
Appreciate
got my questions for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Chattanooga or Nashville?
For what? No, I'm just kidding. For Chattanooga, Nashville's fun for a night, but Chattanooga for sure.
Yeah. If I said the best 24 hours in Tennessee, you'd say Nashville.
I don't know, man. Their downtown and everything's really improved the last 10, 15. I might still go with Chattanooga. I love Chattanooga.
Awesome. Wings or strips?
Wings.
Blue Ridge or Savannah?
Ooh. Probably Blue Ridge. Just depending on.
I think the best wings I've ever had is in Blue Ridge.
I've caught some good fish in Blue Ridge, and I think all my Gilmer County buddies would be mad if I didn't say Blue Ridge. So, yeah,
it's like
Blue
that.
Ridge for sure, but probably Tybee Island. I love Tybee for the beach in the summer, right outside Savannah.
Nice.
So,
Love it. Yeah. Baby backs or pulled pork?
pulled pork.
All right. Falcons or Titans?
Oh, Falcons all day. Even though we're 0-3, like I'll still go with them. Still ride with them.
Kind of weird watching football with any sport, right? With nobody there.
It's really weird. Yes.
Fried chicken or barbecue chicken?
Fried chicken.
32 or Fargo?
Fargo.
All right. Country or the blues?
The Blues.
Said like a Georgia kid, right?
Yeah.
Burgers or pizza?
Pizza.
NCAAs or the scuffle?
Oh, NCAAs. You can't beat it.
People say that it's a close second, though, with the scuffle. They do a good job.
As far as just like the job, but I mean, like Friday night semifinals, NCAA tournament. That's about as good as it gets for a folk style wrestler. I went to the 17 World Championships when we won it in Paris, so that was pretty cool. That was but still, I would put NCAA up there with that. Easy.
Have you looked at the depth of the grappler coming up this weekend? Have you had a chance to take a look and see?
I've skimmed over it where I've got a couple guys that are, or just like the Georgia guys that I know that, are some kids that I've watched for a really long time. I've seen where they're at, and then there's some matchups I'm looking forward to. Hopefully we'll get to see.
Yeah. What do you think about the depth of this tournament, and how does it just this specific year, the grappler and what it's doing, and seeing the competition that it's attracted? What does that kind of compare to around the country? Does it compare to a 32? Does it compare to the depth of a Fargo, an Ironman, a Doc B?
I mean, yeah, it's like, there for a while, especially these preseason tournaments, it's kind of a hard gauge, I feel like. But now that, in the years past, but now that there really hasn't been any competitions, it's like these kids have been training really, really, really hard. So it's like they're peaking for these tournaments instead of like starting wrestling, maybe like, you go to Fargo, maybe you take a little bit of August off and then you start back. These kids have just been training straight through, and they've been wrestling in some tournaments. So, competition wise, the grappler will probably be as good as anything this year. The 32 might have some more just because of it's a little bit later, maybe the notoriety. I don't know, just because really, I mean, honestly, last year's the first year where I was like paying attention to the grappler, and just kind of seeing the guys that were there. They had a good showing last year. But yeah, this year it's a heavy hitter for sure. It's going to be on everybody's radar.
Yeah, I tell people, man, I just want to get like a popcorn and a hot dog and sit right over those elite mats. But then I started reading the varsity list, and I'm like, wait a second, I want to go sit on those mats too. Like, there's a lot of crossover too. Like, you'll see some guys doing both.
I'm gonna have my computer set up for watching.
Yeah, you'll have like all 15 mat, or I don't know how many mats they're gonna have, but I'm sure they'll have plenty.
Right.
It'll be fun, definitely. Well, man, I look forward to one day, getting a chance to meet you, Coach. And
Yes,
thanks for the support and coming on. And
definitely.
it's been a lot of fun, and I'm learning.
Yeah. Keep on it. It's like I was saying, it's like a small world,
Yeah,
All
it's been
these
fun.
wrestlers know each other, good people to be around. So appreciate what you're doing. It's good stuff.
Yeah, my
Appreciate
pleasure.
you coming on.
Any of your wrestlers want to come on, man, feel free to send them my way. I'll
I
be happy
will.
to have them.
I will definitely.
Man, keep doing big things, Coach. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ann. You too.